Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We're back with Embracing Diversity. A few weeks ago, we did a webinar for mothers of boys, and we discussed the racial tensions and issues that have erupted in our country since George Floyd was killed. Well, today I have a panelist of fathers who are here to discuss the same topic. It's going to be interesting to hear from the male point of view. And I'm going to let these gentlemen introduce themselves. I'm going to start at the top with Pastor Blake Hill.
Hi, my name is Blake Hill. I am the pastor, as Ravin said, of Greater Mount Bethel Church of Christ Holiness USA, and I'm also a professor of chemistry at Jackson State, the Jackson State University. And I have three children. I have a 17-year-old who's currently taking the ACT. I have a 12-year-old boy. Both of the boys are older. The oldest are boys, 12-year-olds, and the youngest is 11-year-old baby girl. So she's my baby girl. And I'm glad to be on here with you, Ravin, and the rest of the gang.
Thank you, sir. And Nick?
My name is Nicholas Hill. I am serving as Dean of the School of Business at Claflin University. It's located in South Carolina. I am the father of four energetic boys, ages 12, 10, 6, and 4. And number 4, let me tell you, the aggressive one out the bunch. But I'm excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me, and we're ready to get it started.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Bobo.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Anthony Bobo Jr. I'm in Clinton, Maryland. Right outside of Washington, D.C. Go Nats. Hey, COVID's not even stopping the baseball stuff. Go Nats. Yeah, so I am the senior associate of the Joseph Factor Group. We're a group of Christians that come alongside of churches, organizations, and individuals, helping them to meet their ultimate goals. We work with them on visioning, strategic planning, and business practices. So I have 2 children, my daughter, which is 16, and my son, which is 13. So happy that, Ravin, you allowed me to be a part of this conversation. And I am excited because if you all would have saw the pre-show, man, this thing is going to be something.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. So, like I said, there's been a lot, as you've seen in the news lately, surrounding police brutality, surrounding prejudice and racism. And I want to hear from you guys, from your perspective. How does this affect you, and how does this affect your sons?
For the whole country, it was like, oh my God, nothing like this ever happens. But if you know any of your history from the time from 18 the first boat that landed on this country to now, that has been part of the story that has always been told. And so what it does is it is a reminder of, I think, where we are as a country, no matter how much we think we've gotten to this point. Because I remember when Barack Obama was inaugurated, everybody was tearing up at the inauguration, talking about, we've made it, we're post-racial. Yeah, not so much. It's a reminder that the original sin of America is still ingrained within that American system, and we need to be vigilant to do it. So it was a reminder of us not going to sleep, at least for me, not going to sleep, seeing the where we are, where we really are as a country.
And for me to see the response of so many people, and going back to the inauguration of Barack Obama, and like when he was inaugurated, I remember that night watching TV and seeing people in downtown DC, because there was a local channel showing all these Black people out celebrating. And I'm like, hey, you better get back in your house, because what they're going to do is turn this thing back around and see how y'all happy. But then I started seeing all over the country people were celebrating. Then I saw internationally people were celebrating. So for me to see this police brutality and how it's turned from being something that has happened in America in response to what's happening in America that's reverberating across the world, right? And there's something about African Americans that the civil rights movement, it was picked up across the world. It just didn't affect America. So for me, there's this sense of anxiety, this understanding of that was real, but to see the response that reverberated across the world was it was a little unnerving and unsettling. And I don't think we're to the end of that story. So I guess I would say I'm at a point of being anxious to see where this is actually headed and where it's going to end. Because actually I was in downtown DC a week or so ago, and they're still protesting. They're still marching. That usually these things, it happens. People go back home, they settle. But people are still doing something, and to see the systematic changes, like the policies that are happening. In my area, we normally have police officers at the school. Prince George's County, Maryland, the highest per capita of African Americans across the United States, police at the schools. They said, hey, we're no longer going to have that. We're going to pull out police. We're going to pull money from that, and we're going to put in more counselors. I'm seeing some change where normally we march, we all go home and do something else. So that's kind of where I am on this.
Yeah. So when I look at what's going on historically, it puts in the context of what to me has always been going on. The use of local militia to help terrorize those who are Black and brown in this country. I remember stories about this, how, right after slavery, when they quote unquote freed the slaves, the police was used to enforce them to get people back into slavery. Mm-hmm. One of the, I guess, a famous movie amongst BET is Life. Right, with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy, and the whole premise is that if you get arrested and get put back in, you basically there for life, and you're into a slavery type situation again. Well, that's exactly what the police have done in this country with regards to that targeting of brown and Black persons across this country. So for me, this is just one of those other chapters that's going on. And this story of how they utilize law enforcement to push a particular agenda. But I am hopeful, right? Because I think it's funny in the sense that I do talk to my boys about that. I think for them, they're shocked. They're kind of shocked about it, but I want them to see it. I want them to be aware of that there are sometimes not good people who wear the badge. There are some good people who wear the badge. But moreover, I want you to be aware of what's going on in the historical context. And then ask some questions. What can you do about it? So it does get a chance to get into some interesting conversation, especially from a 6-year-old perspective and a 10-year-old perspective on things that are much bigger. Right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And Nick, your 6-year-old probably wants to fight back. I know him. He wants to go out and protest. He's the protester of the group.
Well, he's the one who says, why don't you just get rid of him? Here's the get rid of him. Mm-hmm. As simple as that answer is, it's like, wait a minute, you may have something.
You might have a point. There you go. You're going to get us all in trouble talking about defunding the police. Now, here you go. Here you go.
I do want to, go ahead, Anthony. I see you saying something.
Yeah, so, and for me, like, we had an incident last May, not this past May, but about a year ago, where we were pulled over by the police, right? And my son is there with me. And so I'm like, I'm anxious because, hey, it's the police. Even though I was in the wrong, I was speeding. So it wasn't like, this is some harassment stop. No, I was in the wrong. But also in that moment, being a father, I knew this was an opportunity to teach my son. And so I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. He's going to get out the car. I am turning off the car purposely. I am rolling down the window now. I'm putting the keys on the dashboard. And I'm talking this through with him so he can see demonstrated what's going to happen. All right, now he's going to come up and he's going to ask me for my license and things like that. It's in my, I'm sitting on it now. I'm not moving until I tell him exactly what I'm doing. Now, granted, all this, if somebody's anxious, it's not going to stop anything. It's still going to be violent or whatever else. But I'm trying to say there needs to be some structure and some conversation about this, and using this situation where I got $100 ticket as a teachable moment. At least maybe there's something that came out of that. And so I'm, as a father, I'm always striving to give clues, tips, tools for you to be able to survive. And I think those teachings still need to happen, and we'll have conversations with our sons. But we also need to have those moments where we can actually demonstrate to them, what it means. And then the surprising part for me, in my family, is 3 boys and 1 girl. And talking to my dad about this, he's like, I never thought I would have to teach you all about the police, like the interaction with the police. He's raising 3 boys now, and he was a teacher, but he didn't feel that police were concerned in our upbringing. And now I have to make sure that my son, understands that. So thanks, Ravin.
Yeah. You guys brought up a lot of excellent points. I've been thinking a lot, like Elder Hill, you said about the underbelly of America, this underlying prejudice, racism that has always been there. And I've been thinking about that a lot recently, but I've always felt it. Even, in the background, regardless of how good we think we're doing, there's always that thing. It's just always there. And we mentioned how the support of Black lives and of all this has been worldwide.
Yeah.
I am also very cautious, like you said, Anthony, about how this is going to play out at the end. I'm encouraged by the worldwide support. I'm encouraged by the policies that are changing, but I'm also very cautious. One thing that came up for me, like I think Anthony, you said, I think it was you, who said this, but when Black people were celebrating when Obama was elected, and your reaction was, be careful, get back in the house, don't let them see you do that. I was also, again, cautious, like, how is this going to play out in 4 years or 8 years? I know nobody here is psychic or anything like that. What are you guys hopeful to see in the future as a result of all this that has been going on?
So I think a lot the same way you think, Raven. But let me in an effort, let me take it just what I think is just a little deeper to that. I think that I'm always leery of protests. Now, protests I think are really good things. It's an agitation, but protest is usually the voice of the powerless. It's when it's the people on the outside who are demanding. They're storming the gates. It's the French Revolution. It's because they have no particular power in this thing. As I told you, I think before, as I often say, there's no such thing, I don't believe, as a broken system. Systems don't break. Right. There's systems that are intentionally designed to create what they're intentionally designed to do.
That's right.
And so when we look around, when we talk about police reform and things like that, we've got to stop saying the police system was broken. No, the police system was set up to achieve just what the police system was set up to achieve. Somebody, for every person that is being oppressed by a particular system, there's somebody who runs the system who is getting paid good money by being system. That's penal system, that's educational system, that's governmental system. Somebody is getting wealthy. What I'm hoping that comes out of the system, I encourage. I think we ought to protest and do all those things, but painting painting Black Lives Matter on the streets, which I think is an awesome thing, especially right there in front of the White House, doesn't change the system. It doesn't. It does nothing to the system. Taking the flag down from Mississippi, which I think it needed to be taken down, does nothing for the system. If you were poor the day it went up, it came down. The day before it came down, you poor the day after it came down, and your lot in life hasn't changed. And so, what I'm hoping that comes out of this is I hope that we have a whole bunch of new lawyers who are going to law school. You know, young brothers and sisters who are seeing this thing and say, I need to go be an advocate for this thing. I think there needs to be more people, more of our people running for office. Like I think we said at the beginning, we have stopped ourselves from doing all kinds of stuff because we keep saying, I'm not qualified. Well, obviously, that's not the, you know, that ain't required. Qualification is not required for anything now. And you know, why can't I run for governor? You know, and we need to be in positions of, because I'm a baseball fan, like Brother Anthony is up there. I'm a Cubs fan though, so I don't like him. You know, yeah, you know, right there, we're about to fight on Zoom over baseball, over baseball. But let me give you this baseball analogy: is that a good pitcher every once in a while will throw a pitch inside and hit the player just to remind him that he needs to get off the plate. You know, he needs to back up some. And I think we need to have some people in positions of power, lawyers, business leaders, and things like this who have their own power that will just sue every once in a while just to tell you need to get off the plate. Not necessarily to win, but just to go, listen, I got you. And you better, you know, I don't need you to love me. I remember Michael Harriet said that. I don't need you to love me. I can be loved at home. I'm loved at church. I don't need you to love me, but you will respect me in this system of America. Yeah. And what I'm hoping comes out of this, what I'm hopeful is that there's going to be enough people going into these positions of power that are in Congress now, that we're organizing voter registration, but becoming lawyers, becoming business leaders, and becoming rich, so that they can fund these things and do these things and teach these things going into the classroom. I'm hoping there's an awakening that says, I'm going to stop getting out here in the street protesting. I'm going to do that right now. But I'm thinking about my next step now, because it's time for me to go to law school. It's time for me to go do something and fix this system. So that's where my hope, I think, really comes. And that's how I think we redo the system. You can't fix it because it's not broken, but you got to redo it.
We have to handle this systematically. And even when we look at the civil rights movement, you know, Martin Luther King was in the streets marching, but they also had the lawyers set up so that when they went to jail, that they had somebody that could advocate for them. And not only that, they had the money so they could get them out of jail. So, and when people say we only are going to attack it from one way, I think that's a little short-sighted. And so you've handled the macro. So let me go a little bit in the micro, like the one-on-ones that sometimes we dismiss. And Ravin, I love the name of your business, your company, your organization, Embracing Diversity. I think there has to be, like, you don't have to love me, but you have to be willing to embrace diversity, meaning we need parenting classes. Like, not only parenting classes, but we need adult classes. So people can say, look, just because my upbringing was a certain way, or I had a certain, that even the lies that we've been told, like, I need to be curious about somebody else's experience and what they've had.
Right.
And not make my experience the superior experience, the experience that, you know, can tell the story from all ways, because we've been lied about a lot of things. I got to be willing to step out of myself and embrace someone else. And that takes energy. That takes being uncomfortable. That takes me willing to be curious about someone else's story and understand them and their history and their perspective. And so hey, look, I'm tired. I can't tell you how many white friends, white people have called me to have the black conversation. Yeah. And all of us are in position, so we know that people are calling us to have that black conversation. Yes. And so people have to understand we are a little tired of having that conversation, but at the same time, I think similar to when I'm dealing with my son, we have to have tools, tips, and things so people walk away with that conversation a little uncomfortable, but also empowered to take on some learning on their own. Not that, hey, the way Anthony is sharing this perspective is the ultimate way. No, these are some books you can go read. These are some, you know, webcasts you need to look at. These are some people that you need to study. So my hope is that through these conversations, there will be this deepening of relationship with individuals, and some stepping off of these misconceptions and lies that we've, said as truths for so long.
Yeah.
I think y'all said it all. So I wish y'all could have left me a little meat on the bone. But let me say this though. But before we get into it, I really think when we talk about hope, it's about for the next generation, the future, right? What is it that you kind of see happening today that gives you a avenue of relief, or even a sign of relief for what our kids are about to get into? And one of the things that I think comes out of this general just seeing of what happened in the George Floyd case was that America got to see what we have been talking about for so long. They got to actually see it firsthand. So it wasn't just Black people, Black and brown people coming together to protest. It was cities. It was the country coming. So I think what everybody is taking away from it is that there may be a glimmer of those new lawyers, there's new congressmen, those new representatives, even our new governor, our new president. These people are going to come out of this. And when you ask them what led you down this path, they're going to speak on this moment. They're going to be the ones to say, it was after this, I went to a protest and I met this young man who really changed my life. He told me about all of these books. He told me about these classes that I need to attend. I attended these classes. And now I'm able to see myself as something that I never saw myself before. I can be something. So I think that that's where my hope is placed on the opportunity for growth in different areas and ways that typically don't happen. Now, am I hopeful that it's going to happen maybe in my lifetime? I don't know, right? I'm giving 40 more years in this thing, right? So I don't.
There you go, with that 40 again. He said something that I've been struggling with, even as concept of the church, and it's this concept of embracing diversity and all. And so I teach chemistry. For those who, I teach chemistry. I'm a biochemist, and I always tell my students there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Okay.
There is. Let me just go ahead and say there is a very real thing of a stupid question or a stupid request, right? So I have these students will come in my office and they say, all right, I say, okay, what can I help you with? I don't understand chapter 6. All right. Well, what don't you understand about chapter 6? None of it. I said, did you read the chapter? I mean, did you do any homework before you walked in this room and asked me for anything, right? I would submit to you that white America in general, has always known this thing has been here.
Yeah.
What's happened is now it's been on TV, and it's like the back room that you put all your dirty clothes in, and somebody happens to walk in and you keep apologizing for the room. You knew the room was back there. You knew the room was dirty when you built the house, but the conversation I'm tired of having with white America is this, they walk to us and they say, tell me about it. I don't understand any of it. Like they woke up yesterday and that they just all of a sudden realized that, the N-word was a bad thing, or, that the Confederate flag meant, we knew from the Dukes of Hazzard, the Confederate flag. Just the good old boys, never met them no harm. Come on. And the only black dude we ever saw Dukes of Hazzard was the old sheriff, and he was a bumbling idiot, you act like America acts like this is the first time they've ever heard this concept of racism and things like that. And so I have a problem. It's disingenuous. To white America.
Respectfully.
Help me balance that. I understand. I want to help my white brother, but I don't buy it. Where you been for the last 4 years?
But this is the thing. We live in a different reality. And I tell you, I deal with people that really don't see it as racism. They really believe that they don't see color. But when you press them on it, they see color. But you can, when you're in the privileged, you don't have to deal with those type of things. So it's like somebody saying, oh, they live in a neighborhood where they have 5 great grocery stores. They're like, there's no such thing as a food desert. What is a food desert? Well, heck, where you have corner stores everywhere that are only selling canned food and
Yep.
sodas and tater chips,
Pickled eggs.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while I think some of us, some of them, I should say, have ignored it, there are some people that have been indoctrinated with so many lies that when they hear people say words, they don't see them as racist. When you hear people say them people, they don't necessarily see it as racist. When they say they're going to come to our suburbs, they don't necessarily see that as racist. But you and I see it because we live it every day. And so I strive because I want grace from the Almighty.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try to have.
I got the grace.
I tried to.
But it's like me going to God, going, you know what, God? I know I'm probably saying I can't claim it. I don't know of any. But maybe you can show me. Well, I mean, like you were doing that just yesterday. What you mean? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that we always, for some reason, in this country, we put the burden of diversity on black folk. And you could go on, I tell my children all the time, I got computers all around this house, and they come in and they always ask me a question, where do birds fly? And how do you make this? I said, you got $6,000 worth of computer equipment and an internet. You've been on it all day. Google it, if you really want to know. And I say the same thing to America. I'm tired of being the people that save you every time. I mean, even the election, it was always black folk didn't vote for, didn't vote, so Trump won. No. We voted 90% for the other guy. Your people went out there and split the vote. I mean, why do I have to save you? Why every time you get into a racial hole, black folk got to come in and save the day? What if Superman decided he just want to sit back and be Clark Kent for the rest of the day? And so I guess I'm just having issue. I'm balanced because even from a church standpoint, we talk about multi-ethnic, multi-dimensional churches, but it's always black folk moving to the white church. It's never really the other way. You don't see a whole lot of white congregant Christians going, you know what? I just feel that we need to go join us a black church. No, it's always it's up to us to always diversify. And I'm just at the point where I'm saying, listen, maybe we just have to live respectfully with one another, passing one another, and diversity. It just comes naturally, whatever happens,
Yeah, I think that's, I think both of those are valid points. I have had those conversations as well, or I've had my white friends, coworkers, etc., calling me, asking me, well, what about this? What about that? I don't understand this. I don't understand that. I've had it all my life, really. What I have been telling, one thing I've been telling people now, one lady was asking me about it, and her answer, someone else had asked her, and her answer to that person was, do whatever you're comfortable with. And I had to correct her. And I said, one thing that I definitely want from America right now is for us to sit in our uncomfortableness. I know that's not a word, but comfort doesn't change anything. If you're just comfortable calling me and having a conversation and then going home and finishing up whatever you were doing, that doesn't change anything. If you're comfortable, even if you're comfortable making a sign and marching and then going home and doing whatever you were doing, it doesn't change anything. We need to be uncomfortable. Any goal that I have ever accomplished, this embracing diversity, I was very uncomfortable when I started this. But because I was able to sit in it is the reason that it exists. If we don't move forward in our lack of comfort, nothing is going to happen. I had one lady on Facebook, she shared one of my posts and she didn't share the whole thing. So I had to correct her on that too. And she said, it was a couple of her friends commenting, well, what can we do? And the answer is usually, well, let's just pray about it. We can just pray about it and we're just going to trust God. And I had to correct her on that. It's like, no, please pray about it and please trust God. right before you get up and do something about it. And she said, well, maybe my prayer should be, God, what can I do? Like, yes, right before you get up and do something about it. God directs a moving ship. If you just sitting on your knees praying all day, that's not that's not what we're looking for. That's not what we're looking for. And
That's good. I'm gonna steal that. I just want you
steal
to know
it,
that. That's
steal
gonna
it,
be tomorrow's
steal it.
sermon. Right
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir. Just
God directs a moving ship. Hallelujah. I'm gonna shout right after the organ go cue up right there.
I stole that from somebody, so I don't know who it
That's
was.
all right. I'll give somebody credit. I heard it. Lord spoke it to me one day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I won't be tuned in
Feel
tomorrow
free.
night.
Feel free to take it. But that's the thing. The key in changing anything is to step. If you don't make first move, nothing happens. You can just sit there and think about it all day. So I was talking to this one girl recently, and she had posted something on Facebook, and it got a lot of backlash. So I decided to talk to her. I didn't know this girl. I decided to talk to her, and she was in a financial group that I'm in. So I talked to her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just didn't know." I would prefer someone to try and mess up and then be willing to come to me and have a conversation about why was this not okay, than to not try and to sit around and say, I don't know what to do. Take a step. Take a step.
I just want
So
to add. Let me just add. I was not criticizing my host company. I think Embracing Diversity is a good company. I just want to make sure. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Never do that. Never. Rule number one. Never. But I believe in diversity. I've just always believed that diversity can only really be achieved when two people are equal standing. Try to mix. As long as there's white superiority and black inferiority, you're never going to have a proper mixing. And it would be better if we were separated in that mentality than trying to mix, because that just gets you back to institutional slavery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I like the company. For anybody listening, embracing diversity is an awesome thing. You should do it. You should, whatever she asks you to do, go do it. All right. Diversity. Yay, diversity.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Pastor Hill. I wanted to go back to some of the conversations that we were talking about having with our children. In our previous video with the women, the mothers were saying that they have no idea when to have this conversation with their young boys. I mean, like 5, 3, 4, 5 years old. I have a nephew who's 5, and he came to me. He was visiting. He came to me, and he had just they moved out of state. He said, I don't like living there anymore because white people are trying to kill black people. So he's 5. And I know you guys talked about like being present with your boys. Like Anthony, you're talking about the example when the police stopped you, you're teaching him how to do it. And Nick, you talked a little bit about how you're talking to your kids. I want to go a little bit deeper into that. What does that look like? What are we? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that it's very important that you got to understand your kids, right, yeah. and how they process information. And so when we talk about engaging in conversations in the time, it also is a time in where the kids, you understand, can know what's going on. Right now, a good example is my 4-year-old put glue on his hand and wanted to climb up a wall because he saw Spider-Man. And so they're literal. So when you see something and they see it, they're literal with it. And so when we get to our older kids, we can actually have those deep conversations. And I think that's where we get into, okay, well, do we know the context of this? Go give me a book. Go get this book. Let's have a reading session real quick. Go look on the internet. Look up who this person is. Let's call somebody about this, right? If I don't know the answer, let me find it. So it's this intentional approach that comes about when they see this and they have these particular questions. But I do think as fathers, and just as parents in general, we always thinking about sheltering and protecting, and we quickly say, no, don't ask that. So in my family, we engage in conversation, we engage in debates. I want to know, what are you thinking? Like, why did you think this glue is going to stick and hold you up? Like, literally, this doesn't even hold your work together when you turn it into your teacher.
Ah, that was great. And for me, and 100% agreeing, you have to know your children. And I think my approach to life is always to be curious. And sometimes, like, I feel like I think I know where they are and where they're coming from. But then when I start asking questions, I find out where they really are. And I think sometimes as adults, we're like, oh, yeah, let's just give them this. And this is not what they're needing at their time of their interaction. So for me, as soon as they're willing to ask the question or present something that they're fearful about or concerned, it's my obligation, as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to make sure that he feels safe. Right. And so what do I need to do to ensure you feel safe? And I think about it, and it was just vividly in my mind when it just happened. When we lived in Atlanta, we left the door unlocked. Just so happened that same night, some drunk guy walks in our house. My dad runs him out. He didn't believe in guns then, believes in guns now. Hold on. There's a whole different story. Runs him out with a tire buddy, right? And I hear I'm the only one that hears the altercation or the loudness or whatever else. My dad locks the door, comes and talks to me, but for my security, walked me in every room of the house. Right, so I could go to sleep because I felt secure that the house was all right. Mm-hmm. I think when we deal with our children, when we deal with our sons, whatever it takes to walk them through the house to make them feel secure, with this eye of curiosity, we need to do that and strive to make that happen.
So I wanna. I guess I think about it a slightly different. I remember. I guess I always look at the context of my own growing up, and I remember sitting in the classroom. I guess it was in 5th or 6th grade, watching the Terry McAuliffe and Ron McNair getting ready to go to space. Not Terry McAuliffe, Christy McAuliffe. Getting ready to go to space because it was a big deal. Brothers going to space and a teacher's going to space, and remember watching it, and then remember watching this explosion that takes place there, and then looking at our teachers highly uncomfortable, just kind of easing over, cutting the TV off, and saying, "Well, let's get back to math," but not really knowing what to say. I have this. I one of the things that I think has been one of the greatest gifts my parents gave us was a childhood. Where the worst thing we didn't have to worry about where our next meal came from. That wasn't my worry. We didn't worry about how we were going to get to the store or anything like that. The only thing we worried about was, ant beds and baseball and grasshoppers. Me and Nick would wrestle. We played Superman. We hated chores. I hate cutting yard to this day. I hate cutting grass today to do it. That was what we had to. And I remember that moment in 5th or 6th grade vividly because it was a loss of innocence. It was this. Like, what just happened? People can. The space shuttle is not supposed to go to space. I mean, people can. We didn't go to a whole lot of funerals growing up. It wasn't. There was this. We didn't watch back. I guess we only had 3 channels back then. But I mean, so you're gonna watch a whole lot.
I mean, like Mama.
Yeah, Mama's family. Yeah. That's about all we had. Just some, the Barbara Mangel's show. I'm going to date myself there. Saturday hee haw. But that's about all we, so one of the things I try to balance is that I think too many of our black kids today are being robbed of their childhood. They're being made to grow up too quick. They're having to make grown folk decisions. Um, you know, uh, walk home from school, make sure you feed your sister. Um, you know, um, um, I got to go work and help pay for rent. Uncle such and such gave me a few dollars, but I need to make sure Mama has grocery money, next month.
Mm-hmm.
And I think prison, talking about the news and pandemics and police, and I want my kids to know about it, but I want to be the fence around them that has to deal with the storm, so that they can sit inside and not have to worry about there's being a storm out there. And one of the things I think that is being robbed with this 24-hour news and with these discussions is they're having to grow up and try to make sense of something I can't even make sense out of. I mean, I don't know how to help them make sense of George Floyd when I don't know how to make sense of George Floyd. I mean, it's like, dude, just get up off his neck. I mean, that's really you know, how do you hate somebody so much or have such a depravity of life that you can kill at a whim and be all right, go eat dinner later on that evening? You know, I just, and so I try to have conversations with them, but what I also try to do, and maybe it's not always the best thing, but I try to shield them away to where I want them to, when they get to a certain teenage year, and they're gonna have plenty of time to deal with issues. Um, I want them to have just this window, this 10-year window, that the worst thing they have to worry about is boogeyman and ghost under the bed and climbing walls, being innovative and
Man, you got me scared right now. What you talking about? They under the bed too?
they're under the bed. Who put them under the bed? That's another thing I got to worry about. You know, but I guess that's what I would caution, because these conversations aren't happening in white families. Those they're having these conversations with their children about innovation and thinking and dreaming and being a child and digging the hole and fishing and video games. They're having that conversation, and we're having conversations about when you go out, don't go out like this, and keep your hands this way, and don't. I mean, it's almost like we're saying, the world is going to kill you. You got to walk this real narrow thing, and that might be true. But I don't want I want you to have a childhood. I guess that's where my balance. That's where my conflict is.
And can we do both? Can we tell them that they could be the president of the United States, and I just need you to have some structure. Hey,
yeah,
you get up in the morning. You
yeah.
need to cut some grass. You go cut some grass.
Oh yeah, you go cut some grass, and I have no problem. That should be the thing. Go cut the grass. You go cut. That's why I'm a PhD now, is because I hate the Mississippi sun. I got my PhD not because I love science. It's because I drive by these brothers laying tar in 100-degree weather outside, and I said to myself, Lord, if you ever let me get out this heat, I will stay in school the rest of my life. And so I did. I stayed in school the rest of my life. I guess what I'm saying is the fear of the world. Yeah, they should have discipline and responsibility, and we need to teach them how to be, how to navigate the racism of the world. But I don't know, before the age of 10, 11, 12, I feel bad for mothers who have to put more responsibility on their children because of just the life they have to try to figure stuff out, and they're just they never have a childhood. So by the time they get to 18, 20, 21, 22, they want to go be a child then.
Exactly.
And like, no, this ain't child time. This grown folk time now.
Right.
So that's my balance. And I don't have a balance yet. I don't know where that line is now. I don't know, that's where I'm struggling.
Yeah. Right. And I'm hoping that all of us know that we're struggling, right? We're just
Yes.
trying to fumble our way through this thing. And like, I talk to my parents now, and I'm like, hey, where's that book that y'all had that when y'all did this? And I found out there is no book. So
No, apparently not.
Well, I'll say this. I think, you know, there is a dichotomy between what Black families and just the essence. So if we even go back, right? If we go back to the old African tradition, there was a campfire. The grandparents or the elders would tell stories, and little kids would be there and they would learn. They would learn from their experience. They would tell stories about, you know, the big fish that got away, or the big elephant, or whatever that was there on the side. So even as we were growing up, we used to sit after revival, you know, come up to my grandmother's house, and they used to tell stories about all types of stuff that was going.
That watermelon. We were eating that watermelon too.
And I mean, like, it was some violent stuff. Like, they were literally scared to run through the
Graveyard.
and run through the graveyard. It was, you know, how if this person came along, everybody had to go in the house, lock the doors, and stuff like that. It was to the point of where I think we've always, as just the culture say, we tell stories of our experience and how we can get through it, just to let the next kind of generation know. I think a lot of times in our white communities, they're not having conversations. And so that's where you have hashtag Karens popping up every place, because they can't deal with the fact of, wait a minute, what is going on? You told me this. Nobody's telling them how to approach somebody in a peaceful manner, to ask questions, to gain knowledge. So, you know, the only thing I say is that we got to start telling stories. We got to start having them there. I do think that we protect them for what they need to be protected from, but we got to engage them now, because the revolution is coming, and it's coming at an earlier stage. And we need these soldiers out there to help push agenda items too. So.
Well, I want to say thank you to you guys. We've been on for almost an hour. I really appreciate you guys coming on here and speaking your mind and helping us to understand a little bit more about what's going on. I feel like there should be a part 2. We'll think about it.
hey, we could. I think this group could do a part 2. We can probably do a part 3, but we can definitely do a part 2.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you. You guys are awesome. And all 3 of you have been instrumental in my development at some point in my life. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Raven.
Bye.